It was always the quiet moments that betrayed the fiction. She'd just finished telling some elaborate, sweeping story about her solo trip to Europe, how liberated she felt, how she'd found herself on a rainy street in Rome. Beautiful. Perfect. But then, I asked her just a simple question about the fear. The fear of being truly alone in a strange city. I thought I'd see a flicker of vulnerability, the memory of genuine anxiety, the normal human reaction. Fear is a choice, Mark, not a feeling. And that was it. Not a blink, not a shiver. She didn't even have to pause to find the philosophical answer. It just came out. Perfect, practiced, like she was reading a line from a script she'd performed 100 times before. The fear of loneliness, the deep, disorienting vulnerability of the unknown, she'd neutralized it, processed it, filed it away as a choice. It's not what she says that gives her past away. It's what she doesn't flinch at anymore. This kind of emotional self regulation is a key signal in the modern US dating culture. The whisper inside, reading the modern woman. You probably know this feeling, that quiet moment, that flicker across her eyes when a simple word, commitment, monogamy, vulnerability, sends a barely perceptible ripple through the air. Something inside you whispers, something's not right. We've all been there. You meet a woman, and the connection is a physical, undeniable force. It feels immediate, deep, effortless. She's confident, comfortable in her own skin. The conversation is flowing, and the energy, it's intoxicating. This high level confidence is often celebrated in Canadian dating scenes, but it can mask deeper issues. You start to make excuses for the small things, the quiet inconsistencies, the moments where she seems too adjusted to the transactional nature of relationships. You silence the gut instinct because the attraction is too strong, the hope is too bright, and the thought of digging deeper means risking the end of the fairy tale. But here's the absolute truth. Whether you're navigating UK relationship challenges or the competitive atmosphere of New York City, a woman's past doesn't stay in the past. It shapes her present reality. It doesn't disappear, it settles into her nervous system, her habits, her expectations, and her body language. Women often reveal the deepest truths about their lives, their previous partners, and their history of intimacy without realizing it. Through their stories, their habits, and their unflinching calibration to emotional situations that would wreck a less experienced soul. This is crucial for men seeking long term relationships in any Western country. You need to learn how to read the blueprint of her behavior, not just the highlights she provides. I'm going to walk you through 7 hidden signs. These aren't about judgment, they're about discernment. They're about protecting your emotional investment and your future. They are the subtle tells that, when combined, paint a picture of a woman who has become intimately familiar with the rhythm of male desire and the mechanics of modern dating. And sign number 4? That's the one most men never recover from. Stay with me. This is the truth you must know. Before we dive in, if this message is already hitting home, please like this video right now to support the channel and make sure you subscribe for more honest dating advice for men. First one is the expert calibration of affection. They were at a bustling Italian restaurant, the low lighting perfect for intimacy. After the second glass of wine, James leaned forward, his voice dropping. You know, I've never met anyone who makes me feel this settled. You have a way of making everything easy. She smiled. It was a perfect smile. Warm, sincere, but it didn't quite reach her eyes. She reached across the table, not to take his hand, but to gently tap the back of his hand twice, then smoothed her thumb over his skin once. A precise, measured gesture of affirmation. You're sweet, James, she said. And I like that feeling too. This kind of calculated charm is a massive red flag in modern dating. Later, walking out, a guy brushed past her, a stranger. He looked back, apologizing quickly. Her reaction wasn't startled or irritated. It was immediate, brief, and contained. She gave a small, social, closed-mouth smile, the kind you give to a waiter. James noticed something chilling in the exchange. It was the exact same smile, the same gentle calibration. She'd given to him 10 minutes earlier, telling him how special he was. He felt a sudden, cold dread. The gestures felt personal, but they were, in fact, interchangeable. What James saw was the expert calibration of affection. When a woman has had many short term, high intensity relationships, she develops a polished, almost theatrical repertoire of emotional signals. She learns the exact pressure of a touch, the precise angle of a smile, and the specific pitch of a compliment required to give a man the dopamine hit he's looking for. The feeling of being uniquely seen and desired. This is a red flag because it signals that her gestures of intimacy are not spontaneous, overflows of genuine, unique feeling for you, but rather trained responses designed to optimize a man's engagement and investment. She knows what makes a man lean in, what makes him feel appreciated, and what makes him commit further. She doesn't have to feel it deeply in that moment. She just has to perform it effectively. The result is a charisma that feels instantly magnetic, but is ultimately empty. This is a frequent pattern in high volume dating environments in the US and Canada. This is like a luxury car that has been test driven by 1,000 potential buyers. It's mechanically perfect, but it lacks the unique character, the little imperfections that come from two people authentically building something new together. The hinges don't creak because they've been oiled by too much use. You mistake polished performance for genuine connection. But if the unique, personalized intimacy you share with her feels exactly like the casual, transactional intimacy she shares with others, waiters, bartenders, strangers on the street, you are not her exclusive partner. You are merely the current recipient of a highly refined, interchangeable social script. Ignore this sign, and you will find your deepest emotional investments are being paid into an account that is already overdrawn by her past. Second is the vocabulary of post-coital silence. The first few times were incredible. A pure physical release that left David speechless, waiting for the gentle, lingering conversation, the kind that happens when two people feel they've just crossed a meaningful threshold. He turned to her, his heart still thrumming. He started, "Wow, that was, I feel really close to you right now, you know?" She didn't turn toward him. She remained on her back, staring at the ceiling, her breathing already normalized and calm. She simply reached without looking for her phone on the nightstand. "Yeah, good stuff," she replied, her voice flat, scrolling through social media, already detached from the gravity of what had just transpired. The moment, that sacred, vulnerable minute of connection, was dissolved by the cold light of the screen. Her immediate, efficient return to her personal life felt like a sudden slamming door. This immediate detachment is a clear signal of emotional unavailability. This is the vocabulary of post-coital silence and the immediate re-engagement with external, non-intimate activity. For men, physical intimacy often deepens emotional attachment. For a woman who has treated intimacy as a primarily physical, casual, or even transactional experience over time, this vulnerable period is often met with emotional efficiency. The immediate need to check the phone, turn on the TV, or start a hyper casual conversation about work is a learned mechanism of emotional closure. It's her way of saying the physical transaction is complete. The emotional vulnerability window is now shut. She has trained her body and mind to avoid the emotional hangover and the vulnerability of the afterglow. She treats the intimacy like a vending machine transaction. You put in the coin, you get the release, and then you walk away without a second thought for the machine itself. This behavior is becoming increasingly normalized in UK dating culture. When you feel the urge to connect, to talk, to simply be together in that deep silence, and she consistently pulls away with a casual efficiency, you are being trained. She is subtly communicating the limits of the emotional depth she is willing to grant you. If you allow her to define the post intimacy experience as one of immediate clinical detachment, you are implicitly accepting that your connection is physical and temporary, not emotional and lasting. This is a sign that her well of emotional vulnerability has been depleted by past casual encounters, and you will find yourself sharing a bed with a woman who is already 1,000 miles away. Comment below if you've experienced this chilling post intimacy silence. Third, the uncannily smooth conflict resolution. They were having their first real argument. For Alex, it felt significant, a moment where boundaries were tested and true character was revealed. He was frustrated, trying to articulate his genuine disappointment and need for better communication. She didn't yell, she didn't cry, she didn't even get defensive. Instead, she deployed a kind of velvet glove diplomacy that was unnerving. She apologized quickly, smoothly, using perfect therapy adjacent language. I understand that my actions made you feel invalidated, and I take full responsibility for the miscommunication. It was perfect. Too perfect. Alex felt the steam instantly drain from his argument, not because he was satisfied, but because he was disarmed. The entire conflict, which for him was a necessary fire, was extinguished in less than 90 seconds by a flawless rhetorical script. He was left standing in the smoke, confused, feeling like he'd just argued with a polished customer service bot. This is the uncannily smooth conflict resolution. A woman who has been through a high volume of relationships, especially ones that didn't last, has learned that emotional drama is inefficient and often leads to an unwanted breakup. She has perfected a sophisticated system of conflict de escalation that allows her to bypass genuine emotional repair. Her apology is not an expression of true pain or regret. It is a tool to end the conversation and restore the status quo as quickly as possible. She uses perfect, generalized language because she has heard every man's complaint before. This is a red flag because it demonstrates an emotional armor that protects her from the necessary messiness of authentic long-term commitment. She can resolve the conflict without ever having to genuinely examine her own flaws or change her behavior. She's not learning, she's managing the optics. This tactic is widespread in competitive US dating markets. Imagine a medieval castle with walls so thick and smooth that an attacking army's cannonballs simply glance off the surface without leaving a mark. That is her emotional core during a confrontation. She has built up an impenetrable social facade from the accumulated lessons of past relationships. The cannonball of your anger lands, the dust settles, and she is precisely where she was before, untouched and unchanged. A relationship that bypasses genuine conflict and emotional tension will not grow. It will stagnate. You are mistaking avoidance for maturity. If every argument is solved instantly with a sterile, perfect apology that leaves you feeling more confused than satisfied, you are in a relationship with a woman who is refusing to truly integrate you into her life. You will end up sacrificing your own authentic needs for the sake of her unnerving, polished peace. Fourth, the deep, unconscious disgust for need. It was a cold, late-night phone call. Mark had been under immense pressure at work. He called her, not for solutions, but just for a moment of genuine, empathetic grounding. He concluded with a simple, quiet statement. I just needed to hear your voice, babe. I'm running on empty. The pause on the other end of the line lasted too long. The silence wasn't thoughtful. It was cold, heavy, and judgmental. Then her voice came back, stripped of all the warmth she usually deployed. It was a kind of high-level pity, delivered with clinical efficiency. Look, I get it. Stress is real, but you know this is temporary, right? You just need to get your head straight and remember that you are the solution. You can't let this define you. We don't have to talk about it again. Mark felt a sudden, profound shift. He had shown a weakness, a legitimate human need, and her reaction wasn't comfort. It was revulsion veiled as tough love. The implicit message was clear. I do not tolerate weakness. You must be self-sufficient and strong at all times. He realized with a sickening twist that he had just failed an unspoken, crucial test. This is the most damaging sign for any man seeking a serious relationship. This is the deep, unconscious disgust for need. This is the darkest, most dangerous sign because it hits at the core of what a long-term, committed partnership is built upon: mutual support during genuine struggle. A woman who has simply seen a high volume of men fail to deliver develops a deep-seated contempt for male vulnerability and emotional reliance. She has learned that weakness is not a call for connection. It is a sign of eventual collapse. When you express genuine emotional need, her internal mechanism sees it as a fundamental breakdown of your value. She has a high tolerance for physical pain and risk, but a zero tolerance for emotional dependence. This is the man-eater sign, the one that tells you she is calibrated to consume, not to nurture. She treats emotional need like a powerful predator treats a wounded animal in the pack. Her philosophy, born of a high-volume past, is self-sufficiency is the only true currency. Your vulnerability is not a cry for her hand, it's a hole in the ship, and she's already preparing to jump overboard because she doesn't carry any lifeboat for two. If you ignore this sign, it will be the one that destroys you. You will spend years in a relationship where you are never allowed to truly be yourself. You will not find comfort, only judgment. This chilling pre rejection will cost you your self respect and the capacity for authentic intimacy. Fifth, the casual authority on male habits. It was a casual Sunday afternoon. Ben was trying to explain the finer points of a video game he enjoyed. As he was talking, she cut in with a dismissive wave of her hand. Oh, I know all about that phase. It's what you guys do when you need to de stress without feeling productive. I've seen it a million times. It's usually a sign that you're avoiding a conversation you don't want to have. Ben froze. Her analysis was delivered with an air of casual, unquestionable authority. She wasn't asking about him, she was categorizing him. Later that week, he was late to a dinner. He apologized profusely, explaining the traffic. Her response, it's fine. Men always do that. They push the time limit until they're late, then they use the apology to reset the dynamic. It's a power play, not traffic. He felt a deep sense of invasion. She wasn't seeing him. Ben, she was seeing man category C, subsection 4, the delayer. Her relationship expertise wasn't born of wisdom. It was born of a vast, accumulated data set of male patterns. This is often how North American dating leads to cynicism. This is the casual authority on male habits. This sign manifests when a woman can speak about the behavior, psychology, and motivations of men in general with a detached, generalized, and often cynical expertise. She will use phrases like, men always. That's a classic male move. Or, I know exactly why you're doing that. This is a red flag because it demonstrates that her view of you is not based on your unique character, but on the aggregated failures of her previous partners. She has created a simplified database of male behaviors. Every action you take is immediately slotted into a pre-existing category. It signals a high-volume past where men were, by necessity, interchangeable data points. You're not a complex human to her. You're a predictive algorithm that she's already mastered. A relationship built on templates and generalizations is a cage for your authentic self. You will constantly be fighting against her preconceived narrative of what men do. If you ignore this, you will find yourself in a perpetual, exhausting cycle of trying to prove that you are the exception to her rule. Eventually, you will stop trying, and you will become the very thing she predicted you would be. Just another data point. Their data. Sixth is the efficient mastery of intimate geography. It was their first night at her place. As she gave him a tour, Jack noticed a peculiar efficiency. Her eyes and her physical posture kept pulling his attention to one specific corner of the room, the nightstand, the floor space by the bed, and the precise narrow gap between the bed and the wall. Later, as they got intimate, Jack realized the reason for the focus. She had a physical, unconscious mastery of the space immediately surrounding the bed. She knew exactly where to put her hand to find the remote for the low lighting without looking. There were no awkward adjustments. It was a space that had been optimized for low-friction intimacy long before he arrived. This is the efficient mastery of intimate geography. A woman who lives an emotionally low-volume, low-commitment life, but a high-volume, intimate life, learns to optimize her personal space for these encounters. The lack of physical friction is a direct mirror of her lack of emotional friction in these scenarios. It means the space has been a repeated theater for this specific act, not a sanctuary reserved for a shared, evolving bond. This is a red flag because it signals that the act of bringing a man home and engaging in intimacy is an integrated, perfected routine in her life. There is no sense of a unique first-time experience with you because she has already internalized the choreography of the space. She moves in that room like a veteran bartender behind a familiar bar. You are not her unique guest in a sacred space. You are simply the next customer at the counter, and she's running the same familiar, perfectly executed set of actions that guarantees a smooth, predictable outcome. The bedroom isn't a place of intimacy, it's a highly functioning operating room. Look for the small, absent minded efficiencies, the lack of awkwardness. If you ignore this sign, you are accepting the role of the latest collaborator in an established performance. You will find yourself feeling like a temporary visitor in a space that has already been broken in by a continuous stream of other men. Seventh, the unflappable tolerance for the extreme. They were watching a dark, intense crime documentary. Sarah reacted by making an audible small noise of boredom and reaching for a bowl of popcorn. Her partner, Chris, was unsettled by her reaction. Doesn't that bother you? The sheer casual evil of it? She shrugged. It's just noise, Chris. People are messy. You can't be shocked by it or you'll never leave the house. You have to learn to tune out the frequency of other people's chaos. It's the only way to stay sane. Later, they were at a party where a man started a loud, drunken argument. Sarah continued her conversation with Chris, her voice perfectly modulated, her eye contact steady. She didn't flinch. She was calm to the point of being robotic. For Chris, it was a terrifying display of perfect emotional insulation. This is the unflappable tolerance for the extreme. The final, quiet sign that the emotional nervous system has been severely desensitized. When a woman has been exposed to a high volume of short-term relationships, her emotional sensitivity flatlines to protect itself. The normal human response of shock, empathy, or discomfort has been overwritten by a cold neutrality. She views external emotional intensity as background noise. She has built an inner fortress that not only blocks out the world's chaos, but also blocks out the necessary, healthy intensity of deep, genuine emotion. This is the ultimate red flag. It means she has become emotionally non-reactive. Her emotional self is like an expert bomb disposal technician. They can stand inches from a volatile, explosive device and their heart rate doesn't change. The problem is, she treats your genuine love, your deep commitment, and your honest pain with the exact same clinical, non-reactive calm she treats a threat. If you ignore this perfect neutrality, you will find that when you need her most, her reaction will be the same: unflappable, detached, and utterly cold. She has become a survivor, yes, but she is no longer a fully present, fully feeling partner. The cost of ignorance: demand authenticity. You have seen the signs. These are not accidents of personality. They are not quirky flaws. They are patterns. They are the hardened scar tissue left by a history of high volume, low investment intimacy. They are the telltale signs that a woman has been through the meat grinder of the modern dating world and has emerged not enlightened, but emotionally armored and hyper efficient. The cost of ignoring these signs is quiet, emotional destruction. You will find yourself pouring your authentic, unique, messy, and hopeful self into a partner who is only capable of responding with generalized scripts and calculated gestures. You will lose the ability to trust your own gut because you will spend years trying to convince yourself that her performance is genuine emotion. But now you have the blueprint. You understand the mechanism. Recognizing these patterns early gives you the power to choose differently. It gives you the power to see the truth behind the polished facade. It gives you the power to walk away from the carefully constructed performance and seek out the woman who is willing to be vulnerable. You become the man who walks away before the storm hits. You become the man who demands authenticity because you know the terrifying price of its absence. If any of these signs hit close to home, know this: you are not alone. There is a brotherhood of men who have lived this silence, who have mistaken a practiced performance for true connection. Drop your story in the comments below. Tell us which sign was the hardest to face. Someone out there might be living the same quiet fear you once ignored. Don't be afraid of the truth. Embrace the clarity. Like this video to send this message to the men who need to hear it most, and subscribe to join the only community that is dedicated to telling you the hard, necessary truth about the world. You deserve a connection that is real. Now go find it.